Of course, for Eric Burkhart of Rock Nation Sports. Dan, what do you think about this? When you heard this, you had a really good reaction just a moment ago.
Yeah, I love this for Buffalo. We talked about it, him being one of the better free agents left available. I'm sure that Buffalo was in on the conversations with Trey Hendrickson. I'm sure they were initially trying to attract Max Crosby. Pivoting to Bradley Chubb. When Bradley Chubb's healthy, he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, one of the more underrated ones in the NFL. His last two healthy seasons, 23 and 25. Almost 20 sacks. Obviously, that's something that Buffalo needs. I just say this. Michael Hoyt, who was a free agent signing for them last year and started to play really well once he came back from suspension, got hurt. Once he gets healthy, if you take him and Chubb with Ed Oliver, that defensive line with some of their young pieces is going to be much improved than it has been in the past couple of years in Buffalo.
Yeah, good move by the Bills. All right, let's read and react to some of the other moves.
No, let's not. Let's focus on the Buffalo Bills. I love this. I'm always a big fan of these types of contracts. Clears throat, less years, more guaranteed money, lower overall ceiling of money, right? So, like $29 million on a $43.5 million contract, only 3 years. I bet that's a type of contract that gives you a ton of flexibility, a situation where if you're forced to move on from it for whatever reason, for however, a year or two goes, like if there's a way for you to move on from it, like it's a flexible contract that keeps you flexible in terms of the roster construction as well as any doomsday scenarios. Let's say even Bradley Chubb gets injured day one. Obviously that would be a bummer. Obviously that would really be rough, but it doesn't devastate you because in terms of the amount of money that you paid for it. Trey Hendrickson, he gets injured day one, that becomes more devastating. That contract also has the ability to age really tough. You're really you sign a contract like that because you're hoping, one, you're like, please stay healthy, and two, you're really saying I'm paying this premium because I'm really hoping that we maximize this next year or two. I'm not really thinking about year 3 or 4 necessarily. A contract like this kind of just cuts through that. To me it's one of those things where, because you got to pay someone money something, right? Because I think the problem is in the Max Crosbys of the world and the Myles Garretts of the world and the A.J. Browns of the world. There's these deals in free agency that they can feel larger than life. They can feel just so big and grand. And I get it. It's exciting. And I've talked about this for a few teams now, where it's just like sometimes those are the moves and sometimes that makes the most amount of sense, and you can celebrate those moves to the maximum degree, and it doesn't mean that some of these other moves that maybe just don't splash as much, right? Like, no, if this was happening over the course of the day when free agency was really kind of going crazy, like no one's opening their show up with Bradley Chubb agrees to a 3-year deal, $43.5 million, right? Like that's not where the discussions are going to be, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have tremendous value. And the only problem is because this is what Orlovsky said is like, if this team, defense, if they get healthy, blah blah blah, and it's just like this team has seemingly been banged up, especially in the most key games, especially the most important games, specifically defensively, and it's just like that's where for me, like, I want depth at this point, and you need a coach who can also elevate talent and not just be the one who's just able to direct the big names and the great players. And this isn't counter to that by any stretch of the imagination. But like that's why for me with the Bills, no matter what name they signed, it's just like I think there would still be an uncomfortableness even if they went out and got a Myles, which again, I'm not saying that these are possibilities. I'm just using those names as a reference point for more than anything. To me, I care more about a resilient defense from the Buffalo Bills than an elite all-in. We got some bodies, and when everyone's healthy, we can be top 2, top 3 defense. That's great. That's awesome, obviously. But I just think you need a resilient defense. You need to not have the feeling that if so and so is banged up, if they're missing a play or two, that it's just done. I mean, that's what happened against the Broncos. It's what happened against, last season. It's what happened against the Chiefs. Back-to-back playoff game, back-to-back playoff losses. Like seemingly in the most recent year of the Buffalo Bills, it's just like down this guy, down that guy, this guy goes out for a quarter, this guy has gone out for a handful of plays, and it's just like it becomes devastating. So, I look more for resiliency and depth. That's what I look at for the Buffalo Bills. Not like they just need a closer, they need a big swing. They need the Micah Parsons. They need the Max Crosby, the Myles Garretts. Like they need resilience, they need depth. And I do think a signing like this puts them in a position to be able to build off of that in that way, even if it isn't just again the boldest, splashiest move. But I am a big fan of it. And I'll follow what Orlovsky says where he's just like, when they're healthy, this can be an awesome defensive attack. And I agree with that, but I got a little bit of PTSD with some of the injuries that the Bills have faced. And it's like not even that they've had some of these huge names where again I'm sorry to just keep using like a Myles Garrett as a reference point or Micah, or it's not like they've been in a situation where it's like oh they had Micah like the Packers and then he now tears his ACL or his Achilles or whatever it is. And then like that's just a devastating loss and now they're just not quite the same. Like it's always been kind of death by a million paper cuts or like someone's injured and they're just like they're injured but like it's just like they're out for a few weeks. You don't really know what's going on. Like it's just like a high ankle sprain or whatever it may be. It's not this like, okay, he's just out for the season now, therefore our rushing attack is just not the same. It's just always something. And so that's why depth, resilience, depth, resilience, depth, resilience. That is the name of the game for me from the Buffalo Bills, defense. I just want to feel that this defense can't just fall, have the ground fall from underneath them in seemingly a blink of an eye and literally like in a play where like, oh, this guy's got to get helped off the field. He's going to be at least gone a few plays and then now, Mahomes or whoever Bo Nix are just going to attack his backup right away and then it's like, well, that just had devastating consequences. Like that's literally the game right now. I just want to see the Bills not be in that situation. And I feel as though they had been, at least over these really their last couple of playoff losses. Really, their last 3 straight playoff losses. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Bradley Chubb agreeing to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal with the Buffalo Bills, including $29 million guaranteed? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So, you agree with me or disagree with me? Either way, let's get some discussions, get some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.